tumekubaliana ya kwamba hatutaki siasa ya ukabila, chuki na migawanyiko. Jameni, mkubali kama Wakenya tuungane. Na tuungane ili tuweze kuhakikisha ya kwamba Kenya inapiga hatua ya kwenda mbele na hakuna jamii ama sehemu inabaki nyuma. Tutembee kwa pamoja. Na ndio mnaona leo tuko na broad based government. Serikali inaitwa ya mapana na marefu. Yani mapana ndio ilete kila mtu na marefu ndio mtu asiwache nje. So hii broad based ndio sasa tunataka tuhakikishe ya kwamba sote kama wananchi wa Kenya tunaungana, tunashirikiana. Na tunashirikiana sio kwa manufaa ya mtu, lakini kwa manufaa ya wananchi wote wa Kenya. Wale wadogo, wale wachache, wale wengi, wale wako na uwezo, wasiokuwa na uwezo, kila mtu tuungane, peleke taifa letu la Kenya mbele. Na mimi niko tayari kujumuisha wananchi wote, jamii zote za Kenya, kwa sababu kama kiongozi wa taifa hii hakuna Wakenya ambayo sio Wakenya. We are all Kenyans na tutashirikiana na tutafanya kazi kwa pamoja.
This one I will talk and I will talk as a patriotic Kenyan until I go to the grave. I'm appealing to Kenyans, Your Excellency. We must love this country. We have no any other country. If this country went down to dogs, we have no any exit route. Kenyans are watching their television. They should look what is happening in Bukavu, in what is happening in Goma. Pali mtu anatoka na watoto na kondoo, wanafika kwa njia wana abandon kondoo, anarudi kwa watoto yake na wajafika pahali wanaenda. This is not the route we want to take. But Your Excellency, one day you Kenyans will remember me. If we don't regulate social media, if we don't, in China where you have been, it is regulated. With a population of about 1.4 billion people. In Dubai it is regulated. In UK it is regulated. In US it is regulated. Kenya cannot be free for all. Kenya can't. You see, that is the patriotism that we must follow.
Good evening and welcome to Fireside. As Dismas says, this is the home of polity, policy, and I will add politics. Karibu sana. This has been a packed week, and we expect the weeks ahead to be even more packed. I have with me two very venerable people. I will let them introduce themselves. We have Alenga and Cathy. Alenga, tuambie wewe ni nani, unajishughulisha na nini? Sitaki kusema nini kimekuleta lakini yes.
Gari ndio imenileta.
Good answer.
Thank you very much, Mwangale. My name is Alenga Torosterdt. I am a policy analyst.
Asante. Karibu sana. Cathy. Wewe si mgeni lakini unaweza jintroduce tena.
Yeah, my name is Cathy Irungu. I'm a political leader. I am an entrepreneur. I'm a mother. And I'm a farmer.
Great. A farmer?
Yes.
I think, Alenga, you're also a farmer, if I remember correctly.
I tried.
You farm ideas.
I tried with chicken, but I ate all of them.
Okay, so guys, what has been your highlight for this past week? What has happened that has really stirred up your political mind this week? I know we have Wamunyoro, we have UDA, ODM, so many other things. We have Ongondo Were, and many other things. What has been your highlight, Cathy?
I think this has been a very eventful week. Unfortunately, some of the events have not been very pleasant. So I think, first of all, I would like to pass my message of condolence to the family of the late Mheshimiwa Were. But then besides that, it's like, things are boiling. Some people say they're boiling nicely. I don't know whether they're boiling nicely or not nicely. It looks like, and now the two formations, government and opposition, now it's very clear, you can tell who is where. At some point, I think it wasn't very clear who is where are we headed and all that. Apparently, it is also the week that we have seen something that would suggest that the broad-based government is still shaky. It sounds, to me, it seems like a very shaky marriage. And I really do not know what's holding it together. I know they are the 10 points. Was it 5? The points that Baba shared with us, with all of us, including the head of abduction. He also called for an interference with our other political parties, so because we are multi-party state, and therefore all of us should be allowed to practice our democracy. A lot of that, and what he promised the people, again, looking back to some of the sentiments that are coming from his party, ODM, there's a lot of, you can really tell that it's not business as usual, or maybe it is not what we expected. We expected there to be calm. And then I think today, again, a lot happening back there at my home, Madeira, and there's a lot of excitement. I think everybody seems to have headed there this morning. And these things will keep happening. As they say, 1,000 years in politics is like one day, all these happenings can actually change in one day. But then it's a matter of wait and see for me. And looking at, the future with great hope and great desire that things will change and we are going to have a better country for all of us.
Alenga, what was your highlight?
I think for me, a highlight was the statement that was made in Kisii Town, the larger Gusii region, and ultimately at the Gusii Stadium. That was quite a statement because it answered partly some of the questions that Kenyans have been having when they contemplate the next election. The question has been, we are removing Ruto, so who next? Who's coming to, who will come and remove him? And we saw that the traditional formations of politics were there. The Kalonzo Musyoka, activities, the Martha Karua activities, Jeremiah Kioni, the Eugene, the normal faces. He has been in the space. Like he has been speaking
That was surprising
because
it's the usual thing of betrayal.
He actually even went to receive him at the airport. So we've been seeing those formations, those normal formations, and people asking, really now? And then for the very first time, we had an ecstatic start on the pedals, and many necks were craning to see who's that, what's going on. What message does he have? And I think a lot of people, including myself, were very keen at the messaging and just trying to see the body language of the candidate, the haptics and the kinesics and everything. Another highlight, I think, for me is the death of the MP for Kasipul. I think it's a very strong statement that people, I don't know whether, a lot has come to fore in many people discussing the late in so many different ways. So one you would think, is it politically instigated? Is it a revenge attack? Is it, what is it? It looks very funny, very mysterious, but then it sends a real shockwave in the political class. The vulnerability of those who sit and are guarded by guns and bodyguards and big dogs in their own homesteads, alarm systems, but they are succumbing in the easiest way on a very normal roundabout that we cross daily, and we see nothing wrong with the roundabout. It can never be a roundabout of death, but it so now dignifies itself in that manner. Thirdly, I think the question of the hidden finance bill, the one that nobody is showing you, the one that nobody is telling you the content, but everybody is telling you there is no increased taxation in that finance bill. So if it is so, and if it is friendly as they suggest, then where is it?
Well, you've talked about the roundabout of death. I am pretty sure, by the way, that once Parliament resumes, one of the discussions would be doing away, and by the way, you can't put this away from members of Parliament. Somebody could suggest that the city mortuary roundabout is deadly because there is a mortuary there. They would be calling for that for the mortuary now called a funeral home to be removed from that roundabout. But that death, the death of the Kasipul member of Parliament, very sad, and again, our condolences to the family of the Kasipul member of Parliament, the late Charles Were. Now, one of the things that stood out for me, as you've rightly mentioned, Alenga, is the fact that you had a very large number of people who appeared to celebrate his death. Mm-hmm. And after we learned of his death, we started seeing video clips, circulating in social media. People saying that they had wanted him, dead for a long time, which is sad. Because if you're a member of Parliament, if you're a leader, and 70 to 90% of the people you lead want you dead, then there's a problem. But it does not seem to be very unique to the late Ongondo. It seems members of Parliament across this country have become enemies to the people who elected them. If members of Parliament would start dying, the other unfortunate thing that also comes with social media is you have people who are on the borderline of sanity, and they post things that are laughable and also sad at the same time. I saw a post that was sad but hilarious in some quarters when I think it was Caleb Amisi who was taking a flight. I don't know whether it was
Oh, yeah.
And he said they had disembarked because the flight had issues. And somebody posted akisema hapa karibu tupate some betting analogy.
Oh, no.
Karibu odds zingiane. It's sad because these are leaders who in other quarters should be the beloved of the people, but they have turned out to be enemies of the people. There's also a bit about Nyanza and politics and violence in Nyanza. I don't know if any of you have realized that strand within the politics of Nyanza. Just today, we are talking about shoes, and Heart the band gave us a number. Uliza kiatu. Na kuna kiatu kimetembea leo jioni. The president was in Migori and somebody threw a shoe at him. Whether they were dancing too hard such that the shoe left their foot.
Yeah.
Was the president. But what really is happening in Nyanza and politics in Nyanza?
I think that region has had a lot of politics of intolerance for a very long time, but it stems from the rhetoric of the leaders from that direction. And, people tend to form around the instructions that they get from their leaders. You'll see a lot of times, more often than not, the leaders of Nyanza pronouncing themselves. Like yesterday, I think, the governor for Homa Bay pronounced herself, and she was saying this is an ODM zone, and we do not want to see anyone. And she said that thing that happened where Raila was speaking and some people were shouting UDA, we do not want to hear that anymore. And she was sounding a real warning. So that is perhaps just a snake that has been tamed for far too long, and it's really grown. And today we are tempted to tame Leviathan. It will not be quite easy. So I think it also speaks to the generation of politics. you know, because we have, even not in Nyanza alone, but in so many other places, we've had politics of kingpins, you know, politics of certain families having to have a strong, a stranglehold onto power in a particular region, and then it comes to a point where it looks like without this family saying something, we cannot go any other direction. Without you vying on this political party, you cannot go anywhere. So then it locks and cloaks the ability to think beyond party politics and personalities, abilities to exercise democracy at its full length, ability to, you know, usher in new leadership. You have heard of those issues of nominations being sold to the highest bidder, and that is how it is cultivated. So then when somebody steps into office, they feel like they bought this opportunity, and so they must protect it, and they must build a hedge around it and ensure that nobody breaks and comes to steal what they think rightfully belongs to them.
And speaking of kingpins, Cathy, because Wamunyoro is very close to your heart, Wamunyoro the village.
Close to my heart.
Not the not the individual called Wamunyoro. How much of interest, well, he has generated a lot of interest regarding Gachagua, but how much of influence do you think that Rigathi Gachagua and now the axis that is developing around him has to play within the politics of Mount Kenya and largely national politics?
I would like to make a comment on what you asked earlier. I think Kenyans are pretty much unhappy with their leaders, but then that is not unusual because I think Kenyans are the only people, I don't know whether it happens in the rest of the world, where you elect a member of parliament today and 5 days later or 10 days later you start looking for another person, and you really quote that person because you want that person out in 5 years' time. It's some sort of biashara, you know very well that immediately you set the opponent to that member of parliament up against the other one, then of course there will be something for you, and it becomes business. And that is why I think this country is full of political brokers and gatekeepers. Having said that, I think it's really unfortunate that we have gotten there. We are celebrating deaths. You remember even when Honorable Elachi lost the son, there was too much celebrations on the street and especially on social media. And I listened to her as she spoke during the funeral of the son, and she said that the members of parliament need to be friends because they do not have friends. I think she felt like she doesn't have friends out here. It is the members of, I would actually call upon the members of parliament to be very careful on what they say, because nowadays Kenyans are really woke, and I think social media has played a key role in ensuring that members of public get real-time information. You say something in Bunge now, and within a second it's out there and everybody knows what you have said. So if you look at the two scenarios and the deaths that happened, of course, both of them, they were accidents, Both were not sick. One was killed. We can term that, although he was slain, we can call that an accident as well. And the young man was also, he died within a very short time. I think he was healthy. Hours later, he was dead. And it is really important that we also weigh what we say as leaders. Whether we are debating in parliament, whether we are saying these things out there, we need to realize that the median age for Kenya right now is 19 years. And those are young people, and they are not used to the old school kind of politics that we have always played. They want different things, they are keen, and they want better leadership for this country. So also, the members of parliament, the senators, and all of us who are out here doing politics, we really need to be careful. And whenever we say something, I think we need to mean business, and we need to follow up on what we promise our people. You've asked a question about, the village in Madeira called Wamunyoro. I don't come from Wamunyoro, but I come from a village near there called Dimaine.
Dimaine?
Yes, but Wamunyoro is not new to me. It's an area I know very well.
What does Dimaine mean? I'm just curious.
Dimaine means, we are at the border of Kirinyaga in Madeira, or Kirinyaga in Nyeri.
Oh, okay.
So D is for Ndia, which is Kirinyaga, And Ma is for Madera. Ine means in between. So it's a village in between Nyeri and Kirinyaga. So I can speak a bit of Kirinyaga and I can speak a bit of Nyeri. Tell a story. Yes, and we are coffee farmers and of course daily farmers as well. They are horticultural farmers.
No, the meaning of
the meaning of Wamunyoro I wouldn't really know, but I know Wamunyoro is a village within a larger village called Sagana. Sagana's scheme is actually, again, the neighbor Kieni constituency. So it's again, they are in between Mathera constituency and Kieni constituency. It's a very fertile area. In fact, in Mathera, we call those shambas, shamba ya Ngala, because it's Ngala who gave, it's a scheme. Initially it was like an irrigation scheme. So Ngala issued some title deed and a few people got land there. So, and you know, Mathera, by the way, for those who don't know, Mathera people are largely Maasai.
Oh, really?
So the people who actually relocated to that particular area are Ndorobos. They're not, yeah. So anyway, enough about that. Yeah. So Mathera politics, going back to the kingpins and all that, I think, as I've always said, Rigathi Gachagua is not someone you can wish away. But for those of us who really understand the gentleman and for us who know what kind of a person he is, I think people would need to really interrogate themselves as they join that camp, and they would need to interrogate the people that are joining. One of the things that surprised me greatly is the coming together of people like Matiang'i. You know, the coming together of people like Justin Muturi, Gachagua, Martha. I cannot understand what has brought these people together. And I am not sure that they are going to remain together until 2027. And the reason why I say that is because I understand, I think, quite a number of them very well. Rigathi Gachagua is an abrasive person. He's a bully. He'll bully all of them. And you can imagine, you can now imagine bullying Matiang'i. You can imagine bullying Matiang'i. He's likely, the only person who can be bullied there and he'll keep quiet is maybe Kalonzo. Martha Karua, if she's bullied, she'll bully back and she'll walk away. Matiang'i, if he's bullied, he'll bully back. So I don't know how these guys are going to work together. It's a matter of wait and see. But I can tell you this for a fact. If Rigathi Gachagua could not work together with William Samoei Ruto, whom they seem to have a lot of chemistry. In fact, to me, they are so much alike.
Oh, they seem
I don't know how.
Oh,
yes. Initially, these guys were like brothers. In fact, theirs worked better than Uhuru Kenyatta and William Samoei Ruto. Theirs was, you know, what we would actually call in the Gen Z language almost bubbly. You know, they went round together insulting everybody else, telling us how they are going to change this country. And especially Wamunyoro made sure that he has harassed Uhuru Kenyatta and the family properly. Now, for that to get where they got and now they are not in terms, I really don't know how he's going to work with these other guys. But then in politics, because that is how we have fashioned our politics in this country, that is what it is. I mean, we have the opposition now, which has all those people that we have mentioned, and we have the government, and we know who is in government now. But I don't see them working together until 2027. Because, and in any case, you know, Matiang'i has declared he's running for presidency. Martha has declared, Kalonzo has declared, and Wamunyoro himself has declared.
Though I haven't seen Matiang'i say, unless I missed something, I haven't heard him say expressly that he's going to
he said that yesterday. He said that in Kisii. I think in Kisii he said you called me. Yeah. He said, you called on me and I have come. I listened to you and that is why I'm here and I'm ready for the job. What did that mean?
But that's what I'm saying. He didn't say expressly.
I'm going for the presidency.
He was very vague about the task that he's saying.
Did you see the branding? For? Did you see the branding that was on the Jubilee Party track? It had his photo very clearly and that of Jeremiah Kioni at the back, as if one is the president and the other one is the running mate. Did you see it?
I saw it. But Alenga, people would say
out there
that Kioni has some interest because he seemed to have been fading away from the political limelight. And so he, got hold of Matiangi's court, and now he's dragging along. I think he may have been there in spirit in the poster in Kisii. But do you think that Matiangi's entrance into the political foray, as we know it today, has any bearing on 2027?
When it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it is a duck.
It might be a pretender duck.
So actually, like I said earlier on, the biggest question has been, we want Ruto out, but the question has been, who's coming in, because everybody was behaving, in like a lackadaisical manner, not really showing full commitment to go for it and challenge him, even when there obviously is enough fodder to, educate the people and how the decadence of proper governance in this country. Nobody has seemed to take opportunity of that huge gap and just go around the country, tell people what is wrong and how they intend to rectify that. So Matiang'i comes back from the US and there is a welcome, and then he just disappears. Then he reemerges to that welcome party in Kisii. So definitely this changes a lot of the arithmetics for 2027. And my personal opinion is that people have raised issues about Matiang'i and specifically when he was in leadership and how he did things and how he did not do them. Some say he was very straightforward in terms of how he managed the education system. He was able to cut the cases of cheating in examinations. Some say he oversaw extrajudicial killings when he was in the Ministry of Interior, but they conveniently refused to admit that at the time his boss was the current president as the deputy president and the president, Uhuru Kenyatta. So how we conveniently absolve the two from the extrajudicial killings, but choose to put it on Matiang'i's head, again, excites our level of unpacking things politically. But then, where are we at the moment? We are at a place where, for me, I say everything that could have gone wrong in this country has actually gone wrong. Yeah. So then that leaves me with a question. Is Ruto a righteous person that we should require a fellow righteous person to replace him?
Does it mean that he must be a righteous person for us to require another righteous person? Or we need a righteous person to replace him because he is...
Yeah, I think also we have to question from what batch are we picking from? Because our leadership here in this country is changanya, koroga, changanya, get one. If it's not the right one, like my friend said, the fifth day you are complaining, this man, we don't want him anymore. Because our leadership values are so low, like the bar is really, really low. So getting that person that will really answer the question of we have replaced this with this is pretty hard. So then it leaves us at a place where we say, let's see another season. Because the season we are in is a season of suffering, a season of turmoil, a season of, depression and all that. So if we changed over, could we see something different, even if it's a dismal change? So who is the ideal candidate that could unseat President Ruto? It's definitely someone that is as equally lethal as he is in terms of political maneuvers. It is somebody that understands government corridors and how systems work, just like him. It is someone who has that spirit to fight on until the end of the day, where we say this is the loser and this is the winner. It doesn't require someone that will maybe cast their vote and go back to watch the television and see how the results are trickling in. It requires somebody that will have the systems and the mechanisms to go around the country to guard the vote, to protect the vote, to ensure that even if they come second or they win, it is legitimately so.
By that criteria, you've just disqualified Umtata and Maraga.
Ideally. And that's why sometimes you have to listen to the conversations in the political realm. When you hear your opponents advising you, your main competitor advising you on who you should choose as your leader, then they are definitely enticing you into fielding the most weakest player. So you'll hear them say, you'd have rather taken Maraga. He has never done anything wrong. This other one did this. You should have taken it. But they realize when this person retires, they have no systems to manage and run an election. They have no systems to, ensure that the election goes to their advantage.
And one of the things I was thinking about when I saw Matiangi and that homecoming, for one, I don't know why we are obsessed with these homecoming things. Somebody's appointed today, next weekend they will have a homecoming and Thanksgiving, something as if they were not home. You just immediately after they are appointed. It looks like if you are coming back with a new title, you must have a homecoming. But one of the things that was interesting for me was the people who were around Matiangi. First, it was a Kisii affair. That I think was very clear.
Initially, it was a Jubilee affair. Initially, it was a Jubilee affair.
The Jubilee guys would say it was a Kieni affair.
Kioni. And I remember we discussed that last time here. Initially, it was a Jubilee Kioni affair. And then when it picked a bit of momentum, it became a Kisii affair. That's how I would look at it. And I think it's because the Gusii land wanted to own their son. They wanted him to feel like he's welcome home. He has votes from there, and then maybe he can move out after he has already talked to his people and agreed that they're going to vote for him. It was colorful. It was nice. But you know what? The Jubilee people, and I'm a member of Jubilee myself. The Jubilee troop went there. Our SG, Kioni, did not even speak throughout that road show, whatever was happening at the Kisii Stadium.
Did he want to speak, or he was?
But of course, how do you move and follow all the way from Nairobi to Kisii and you don't want to speak? I believe my SG has been trying to position himself as a running mate for Matiangi, and that maybe has had its own, some people are not happy with that. And I think he's actually being contained from some quarters. If you look at what happened today, or what has happened today at Wamunyoro, again, he missed and he was not there at all. But my chairman, of course, represented the party. But once you see those kind of cracks start to emerge in a new coalition like this, then you should be very, very worried. You should be very worried.
But they don't seem, in my view, I don't think they seem to have the capacity to go the long haul, the longevity, to even get to 2027. I mean, all these individuals, Kalonzo was saying he wants to run for president. He still does. I mean, when he's seated, I think, having tea wherever he does, he will tell people, I want to run for president. Rigathi Gachagua still harbors ambitions to run for president. Eugene Wamalwa almost always threatens to vie for president. And all these individuals now are, around an individual who, a majority of Kenyans are saying they want to vie for president. It's as though they have forgotten about their ambitions.
Else,
yeah, but what is also very curious for me is that amongst these individuals, I don't know anyone who has the financial muscle to sustain a presidential campaign by themselves, because unless Matiangi, stole a lot of money when he was he was in office, I don't think he has the financial muscle to support a presidential campaign alone. Because even the people who have won presidential elections had, even with the support they had from other quarters, they had some money. Uhuru Kenyatta had some money, William Ruto had some money, even Kibaki had some money, whether it came from his pocket or from outside the country. But I don't see this kind of resource with these individuals. The other bit also is the fact that there's almost, it's as though there's a competition to have an event every day so that you're on the mouths of people daily. But will that be enough, to sustain political conversation around these individuals up to 2027? Because they might actually, fizzle out.
You see, all these individuals, and I like the way they have also come together without an agenda, so to speak, other than bashing the current president and the current regime. Because you ask yourself, I mean, other than Matiang'i, and I think that is why most people prefer him, who has a credible record as a doer, other than just someone who is out there making a lot of noise the way Wamunyoro does. You wake up in the morning and you tell us, the president has been stealing. I don't know who did this when I was in government. Why were you quiet? Because he was part of that government. Having said that, all these people have been in government. And I also ask myself, for someone like Kalonzo, who's been in government for more than almost 40 years, for Mother has been a member of parliament, has been a minister. Wamunyoro, of course, the highest, has been a DP, has been a member of parliament. All these characters, they have been in government. What is this that they are promising us? What is this that they want to do as an alternative? What is this that they're going to offer to the people of Kenya that they couldn't offer when they were in those positions? I actually feel that if we are talking about change in this country, if you are saying that for sure, we don't want the president and the entire current regime, then we should be talking about other people and not anybody from these two camps. You have asked about the money. And of course, money plays a key role in politics. And for me, as a person who has interacted with what we like calling the ground here in Kenya, I know for sure that it is very expensive to run a campaign. And if it is expensive to run a campaign for the member of parliament, or even for Senate, for woman rep, for governor, how expensive is it to run a presidential campaign? So I do not see any of the people that are being mentioned having the financial muscle, unless they're expecting to get that money from elsewhere. They can create such a vehicle, hoping and expecting that someone will come with loads of money, with billions of shillings, and then just give them so that they can unseat a sitting president. That is unlikely going to happen. That's unlikely.
Alenga, there's somebody here, one of our viewers called Helen of Troy. She's asking, is the Pope himself perfect? And should we be looking for perfection? What should we be looking for a candidate for presidency? And really, because sometimes we concentrate on the presidency and we forget that you can have a very good man as a president, but if you have a rotten parliament, then really there's nothing that one individual could do. But what is it we are looking for?
I think what we're looking for is change. And not so many times do we find change coming through individuals. Change comes as a systematic, thing upon the system. So where we are at the moment, we have entered into a certain black hole as a country where, very simple imperatives like independence of the parliament, independence of the judiciary, high-handedness of the executive have become like commonplace. So how do we get out of this hole? So for me, when I approach the conversation of, getting Ruto out of office in 2027, it's not merely for the purposes of changing a regime, but it's for the purposes of speaking something to the political class, that you can be given mandate by the people, but if you fall short of their expectations, they can actually get you out. So that it's not a given that I can become president, perform dismally as I may want, but somehow Kenyans will give me a second term, nimalize tu niende. You get it? So if that can happen in 2027, it will not be, the gain will not be Kenyans removed Ruto from office. No, the gain would be Kenyans have spoken about how they want their country to be run. And Kenyans have expectations. And when you do not meet those expectations, Kenyans punish you in this particular manner. So that even the parliament that will be sworn in after the elections of 2027 will be so reserved on how they relate with the executive. Because we have a parliament that harangues daily. We have a parliament that patronizes us daily. So lately they have referred to us as helpless villagers and nursery school kids. You know?
But are they too helpless?
So that kind of parliament draws their high-handedness from the executive. Because, as it were, they should have been serving at the mercies of the people, but it looks like they get brief from the executive. So anything they come and speak, so that men and women are ready to make fools out of themselves, even recorded on TV, and they are not ashamed of even their own image. You hear like those, the kind of statements you hear from that parliament, and you wish you could unhear them. But they are like, they have been spoken by someone who is well-schooled, is not a helpless villager like ourselves, and we expect a lot from them. So this conversation about changing the leadership of this country is not merely about changing a personality, but speaking to the system that this is how it can happen. I'm very sure even a governor who gets elected in 2027 will be keen about how the people can treat them if they do not deliver within 5 years according to what people expect from them. Looking at where we are at the moment, I'm raising this question because there's a question you've talked about of finances, the role of finances in a political campaign. Well, right now as a country, we could actually just summarize that Kenyans are tired. And they are tired not because competitors are not having money to remove the current regime. They are tired because no one is stepping forward to tell Kenyans, I am with you. I can get you across the river, and on the other side, things will be better. So then I think what is more important is how can these other candidates who are out of government harness this anger that Kenyans are having on the streets, harness this despair that Kenyans are having, and then turn around a narrative that, brings together everybody. I have spoken to lots of people about what they think about 2027, and most of them tell me, Ruto has a lot of money. Who else can beat him with all that money? 2, he owns the systems. He might just steal the election and become president again. 3, he will buy the other competitors. You know what that tells me? It tells me he's the only candidate getting into the election of 2027 whom everyone knows his tricks. So if it is so, wouldn't it be then now easier for us to mobilize around that and defeat these 3 factors that have been vehemently mentioned in the political circles? About the coalitions and the coming together of different politicians who obviously demonstrate very divergent views and perspectives, and sometimes we question how they were taking tea together because they don't seem to agree. I think today what is more urgent is how do we change this government that is not working for the people? Who changes it may not be a matter of urgency to address as at now. Once we fix that, then we will talk about the other issues later. But again, it will have already spoken by itself that Here, these citizens are now more keen. These citizens are now more punitive.
If you allow, let me tell you, that will never change Kenya. That will never change Kenya. All what we do, and we do it very well. And I agree with you, my brother. You know, initially you had said it very well until your very last statement. We cannot continue having same monkeys enter different forests with different narrative, kipindi. And that is what has gotten us where we are. Because if you go back, you'll find that this has been, you know, the trend. You know, you just need to disagree with the coalition or the principles in your coalition, and then you move out, you create another coalition, and now because you're so angered and you're very annoyed, you know, like the way Wamonyoro is annoyed, he wants to convince, or they want to convince the people to reward them with seats. Then what happens? They form the government, and the same trend will pick again. They will disagree. Then they will join another coalition, come and cheat us that they are the messiahs and they are going to deliver the country, they are going to deliver the people. And that is how we end up with all these, you know, shenanigans that we find ourselves every 5 years. This must stop. In fact, I applaud the Gen Zs. They had come up so well, agitating for good leadership, agitating for better governance, agitating for change. They only lost it when they also became very greedy and very divided. I really do not understand what happened to some of their leaders, so to speak. But all is not lost. They are still the majority. If we combine the millennials and the Gen Zs, and by the way, for me, there's one thing I believe. If we are talking about change, and I'm repeating this for the second time on this show, if you're talking about real change, and we really believe, as Kenyans, that the way William Samoei Ruto is leading us, together with his team, is not the perfect way, then the alternative is not the Rigiji, Martha Karua, Matiangi group. It is not.
But
the alternative is something else. And let me tell you.
How do you change the mindset of the people? Because you see, the people want their monkeys. We on this table here are saying we don't need, you know, the same monkeys in the forest, but the people want their monkeys. I was. Do
you know something? There's nothing like the people want. All the time, that narrative is crafted, started, mobilized, and spewed out there by the politicians. It's actually those people who are interested in seats.
In the case of members of parliament, let me use members of parliament. You have members of parliament, and now with the unfortunate case of the late MP for Kasipul, the number of people who are coming out to say we did not want this man. It's a big number, but the man was serving his second term in parliament. So how was it that he got into parliament if the people did not want him? And the things that he's being accused of began even before
he became a member of parliament.
So the people still want their carcass, so to speak. So how do you change the mindset of the people and tell them, these monkeys will not serve you. We need
and that is why I said the only thing that will save this country is the reawakening of the Gen Zs and the millennials. These guys will not take us anywhere. If really we want William Samoei Ruto out, the alternative is not this other group. Actually, if we are blaming William Samoei Ruto for being corrupt and all those things that we have said about him, even the others, we know that they have managed to do the campaigns they have done in the villages and everywhere else because they had proceeds of corruption. You know what? One of the things I would like to say, and I'm saying this with the benefit of having ran against some of those characters. The kind of money that some of these people spend just to win a parliamentary seat is unimaginable. Why would you spend 500 million and above to win a parliamentary seat? For what? And where did you get that money from? By the way, the reason why Kenya has not had a female member of parliament is because majority of women lack resources. They are not as corrupt as men.
They are not better thieves.
They are not. Okay, we are not comparing, but I would say they have not benefited as men have. They don't have as much ill-gotten wealth as men, and therefore they are unable to buy the people. That is why.
Why won't women who are the majority vote in
a woman,
Yes.
because men have nicely devised the art of divide and rule. If you know, when we are in workshops and seminars as women and as women leaders in this country, we talk as sisters. But wait until we get to the ballot to elect. How many female candidates have we had for presidency in this country? I think Charity was the first one. We've had Martha Karua at some point, and Nazreen was the first one, I think. But did women vote for those people? Women actually fight along very, very, very many lines, and we have very many things that divide us. I know some women would disagree with me, especially the middle class and above, because they like listening to lies. The truth is, women fight a lot, and that is why we've never elected a woman
Alenga,
as a president.
you were saying something.
Yeah. I was gonna add in like this. The thought of overhauling the system all at once is a very good discourse for scholarly purposes, but not really as a realistic solution on the ground. The political system has been manipulated in such a way that for a very long time it will favor those that have the money. Look at even the registration of a political party. Like if Mwangale and I were to register a political party, first of all, we have to pay 500,000 for the registration. Then we are required to open party offices in at least 24 counties and have them running. We are supposed to collect membership of, is it 10,000 members? Per constituency, right?
Per county.
Per county. I mean, when the moment we reach there, Mwangale and I cannot proceed.
And that is why political parties are also properties of men.
Yes,
because
it's
they are
over.
the only ones who can manage to do that.
Martha Karua owns a party.
Martha Karua stole a party.
She stole a party.
She stole a party.
And here I was saying women are not better thieves. Anyway, but
So already, you see that maths we were doing here was basically finding a political party that you can say, I have an outfit that is neither ODM or UDA, but it's a new entry into the political space. It's already tough and hard and almost impossible. Then now you get to the campaign, you get to the campaign period where you have to spend a lot of money. So that's why I've been hearing a lot of conversations. And one thing that comes to my mind is these people that advance the conversation of we want change, but we do not want this group of people are possibly silent supporters for the current regime. Because when they pour cold water on everyone that tries to come, if Maraga comes, they say, but the guy has no money. How will he run a campaign? So those that were saying, Maraga, they pour cold water on them, they keep quiet. When Morara comes, they say, now this small child, what is he going to even do to us? They pour cold water on him, he goes. When Matiangi comes, they say, now this is just Jubilee. He will be there for the interest of Uhuru Kenyatta. Then ideally, they are doing some reverse psychology that will keep removing everyone until we remain with William Ruto on the table.
But don't the people also have a right to vet those who are presenting themselves until they arrive at an individual they think is good, even when they are not sympathizers of the current regime?
Yes, but you know, Mwangale, you will, if you are analytical, you'll see a pattern. Yeah, so you can't be, everybody else cannot be so bad. But then when we ask you, now what do you think about this current regime? Is it serving you well? You say, well, I think, well, okay. But who can remove him? You know, your quickest. So ideally, you just support this government, but you do not want to say it overtly, that I do. But then you want to, silently and cleverly isolate people from what they think could be a viable option.
At times we actually speak as if Wanjiku, the voter, is a very naive, innocent, you almost helpless. Let me tell you, in this country, we are all guilty. We are all guilty. You go to the voters and you think that the voters have suffered and therefore they are going to make the right decision next time. Wait until the money is poured. Wait until the money is poured and they change. So even all these things that we keep doing here with you, Akili, every Sunday we come here, we debate.
And the funny
and then
thing
we
is
bring,
that it's not even a lot of money that changes their mind. It's not a lot of money.
And he bring Kizungu Mingi here. Let me tell you, the voters on the ground, they are as guilty as the politicians. Let's not lie to ourselves.
So you're agreeing that
because you'll go,
they want
Mwangale,
their monkeys.
Yes. You'll go and you'll say, I'm running in this constituency or county and this is what I stand for or this is what I'm going to offer. But the people will ask you, how much money do you have? How much are you giving me? And at times they really negotiate with you and tell you.
Now.
Yes, they say tumalizane sahi. Tumalizane sahi. In fact, where I come from in Wamonyoro, they say unatuachaje, as you say, but they also have another phrase. They have another very interesting one. They say, ongeza action, punguza maneno, uongeze action. And in Kikuyu they say, shugoi nyihe, shikoshigehe. They are simply asking you for money. And that is the same thing that you're going to see in either camps. And that is why you'll see politicians. You see, now we can say that we have two groups that are running against each other. You can be 100% sure. And this is something I've observed. There are some churches that Kalonzo Musyoka went to like 5-6 months ago. And I saw, especially one church in Western, and I think yesterday or the day before, I saw the pro-government team in the same church. Donating. At times you cannot even, you get into a church and when people are holier than thou and seated nicely and listening to God and speaking to God, you think they are different from the people you met on the street. These people are the same. Wacha tuseme, sisi Wakenya wote ni guilty. Let's not say the politicians are bad, blame the president, blame who. The only thing that can, if we are looking for real change, is actually total change of the way we do things.
But I agree with you, Cathy. How do we get there? That is the issue. Because, you see...
Do you know how we get there? Number one, we need to do a lot of civic education. It's civic education that actually got Moi out of power, if you remember. It is civic education that the people require. But now, because you cannot change still the old monkeys, the people who are used to this kind of business of nipatie kitu kidogo, then I vote for you, the people we are supposed to capacity build right now and take the education to, especially voter education, is actually the young people.
Who should do this civic education? Because
civic education also needs is all of us. And is all of us. Is all of us. And by the way. And by the way, the politicians are already ahead in that civic education. If you check around, the Gen Zs are divided right at the middle. I think I saw the young man called Casmuel with Baba the other day. I think I then saw Morara Kebaso with the Wamunyoro group. Then kidogo, I think everything reversed. I don't know what is happening currently. It seems the politicians, and especially the opposition, is working closely with the young people. Unfortunately, theirs will be biased. Civic education. We need, and this is what I keep saying, we need some genuine conversation where we are coming together and asking ourselves, when did the rain start beating us?
I think hii kizungu mingi tunapiga up every Sunday is part of
civic education. I agree. I agree.
One thing I want to underscore is that I think we are being dishonest with the truth, because in 2002, for Moi to be removed or for KANU to get out of power, we did not ask for new politicians. We did not get anyone new. We just went back to the guys that had worked with Moi. And when they came out, when they bolted out of his government and formed the Pentagon, and they were going around the country and telling the people the ills inside that government and why it needs to go, is when people said, well, by the way, if these guys have left, if Balala has left, if Nyaga has left, if Raila has left, all these guys, they must be up to something. And when that happened, some people thought it was for the immediate gain of political change of power. But actually what 2002 did for us is the Constitution of 2010, like 8 years later. So that's why I say we can have the same people that have even worked with Ruto. The people that have been in that government, they have been kicked out. It's fine. And the most important thing is, if we change this government in 2027, what are we communicating? Or what are we looking for? Just like we were able to get a constitutional change after Moi left or Kanu left. What will 2027 usher us into? For me, when I look at our problem as a country, I feel it is the feeling of political immunity that continuously puts us at the same place. Like there are people who get elected into offices, they beat the same people who elected them, they grab their lands, they grab their wives, they take everything, but there's no consequence as long as you hold power. So for me, if we can change the government in 2027, it will speak consequence to bad behavior in the political sphere. And going forward, then every other person that holds higher office will be alert to that. Just like the shooting of an MP on a roundabout just a few meters from here where we are, speaks not only the demise of an MP, but it makes the MPs to reflect. Like, people hate us this much.
But they could just rethink their security.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
They're not
It's
rethinking.
actually about them. In fact, I looked at them when we were weeping, and I asked, why did you weep like that during the Gen Z
we
Mandamano?
thought we were so secured. We thought we were the last persons that can be reached by a lone gunman, you know? So these changes must speak something to us. You saw like the MPs, the politicians who went to Ongondo Were's home to mourn with the family, and they posted pictures of them looking so sullen, like they are carrying rocks on their heads. They looked so they were in pain and sorrow. And someone told them on social media, this is exactly how the mothers of the children that were shot on 25th of June looked like before the burial of their children. So these reflections, they may not even give us immediate results, but what are we? For me, I am longing for a Kenya where you do something as a politician and you think twice that I will be punished for this. But as long as we still wallow in that space where a politician is everything, where we still use the word mheshimiwa to mean that you're infallible, that if you become an MP and a disgruntled young man goes to the social media platform of your constituency and says, we are very disappointed, look at this state of this road, and they post there the picture that in the evening you should send goons to go and beat him up.
Now that you're mentioning that, there's a very sad case from Eldoret from 2 days ago. A young man was killed and dumped in River Sosiani. It's alleged that it's a police officer who, did the killing and dumping. And there was another young man who witnessed that happening, who also disappeared and was also found dead and dumped in the same river. And I think when you talk about a life of no consequence, we have laws that are almost fluid. They apply to whom they apply. So if you're weak, if you do not have political muscle, you do not have money, then the consequence of breaking the law would actually apply to you. But borrowing from that logic, it appeared as though the people had taught the political class a lesson by sending Moi home. But it didn't seem like they got the message. it also appeared as though there was a punishment, and it's almost as though our general elections are venues of punishment. Want to punish this individual in this general election. The individual who will come in, who was a savior and our tool of punishment for the one who went away, again becomes the object of punishment in the next general election. But speaking about a system that is oppressive, things not working in this government and in the past, we have the finance bill. We touched on it when we were beginning. And Alenga, you were saying the finance bill, no one knows about it. Do you think William Ruto and his government have learned any lessons from June 2024 as regards the finance bill and the budget making process? We can begin with you, Cathy, and then Alenga.
Yeah, I think they seem careful on a number of things. One, on public participation, which seems to have stalled, because I remember I saw the cabinet secretary for finance interact with young people, interact with bunge la wananchi in a manner to suggest that he was doing public participation. I do not know whether that was devolved. I don't know whether he went down to other counties, because I've not seen that. That speaks to someone who is trending very carefully. I also remember seeing some points or pointers into, trying to address what is the content of the Finance Bill 2025. It was carefully crafted, suggesting that there are no increments, or there's no increase in taxation. Again, the government seems to have gone out and clearly told us that nothing is changing. But as my brother said, we are yet to really see the actual, what is contained within that bill. I think the care and the manner in which it's being handled, of course, is derived from what happened in June last year, because you remember there was plenty of time for people to go through the finance bill and chambua it, clearly. And there was a lot of chest thumping from the elected leaders, right from the top, and telling us they are going to pass it, whether the people like it or not. So there seems to be some carefulness, and people are trending carefully. It's again a matter of, we really need to peruse to know what is in there. And I think let's just believe that there are no changes, or rather there are no increments. Otherwise, whether there are changes, whether there's increase in tax or not, the fact is mwananchi anaumia, and that is something we know for sure, because everything seems to have gone up, and that is why there's a lot of noise. There kuna pesa, generally. Yeah.
Alenga.
I do not think.
And you can touch on messaging, because you are also. That is also your field. What has the messaging been like? Do you think there's anything that was learned in terms of messaging past?
I think what the government has done differently is just ensuring that they have hidden this finance bill, and we're just consuming it like illegal bang. Just in, where you find it is where you
not that there is
legal, go on social media.
There's
maybe
legal bang.
Yeah. So you go on social media, you find someone has shared one screenshot of one particular page, and they're talking about it. So where we can get this whole document and just read through and analyze it, that's a question. And so for me, it speaks to mischief. Because if it is as superfluous as they paint it, then why don't you avail it for public scrutiny? Why would you gag even members of parliament from discussing it with the public? You saw the speaker expressly warn the members of parliament from sharing the finance bill with helpless villagers, that they should just come and debate it in the House. As it were, procedurally, I think they should have even shared, so that people can, share their memoranda on the same. and what they think about the same. That has not happened. So I do not think there's a change in the approach. However, the other thing that that took us into the streets was how government was running government, and especially the expenditure of the government and all that. But have we really walked away from that profligate consumerism that was demonstrated by a political elite? Not really. Today, the president is adding advisors just at whims. Everybody is becoming an advisor. I think there's a daily that gave it a very funny name, that the advisors are just flying from left, right, and center, and these are people that are still continuing to, burden the taxpayer. But and this is happening in the same country that advises its young people not to look for jobs because there are no jobs. But then the same government is carefully designing job descriptions for people that it purposes to be close to power. So the difference between 2024 June and now is the similarity.
There's something I've also found to be a very big deficit. One of the things that the Ruto government claimed, the people missed, and especially the young people, because they said the young people didn't go through the finance bill, and so they missed a lot of the positives. One of the things that happened during that period was, the dissemination of that finance bill in the first place. Number one, I don't think the Kenyan today, the ordinary Kenyan, and by ordinary I mean even people who have, gone through university education, has the capacity to pick out, features of the finance bill as it is drafted, because it is drafted in very technical terms. And for you to go through that bill, the bill 2025, finance bill 2025 is just 28 pages. But you have to sit down with the Income Tax Act, sit down with the Value Added Tax Act,
and the previous finance bill, because they say delete where.
Yeah, exactly. You sit down with the Tax Procedures Act, and you can't do that as an ordinary Kenyan. And you're reading this section, refer to this section, and sometimes a section is, deleting a provision that was added, by a previous piece of legislation. So I think, aside from messaging, there's need for both cabinet, because the finance bill comes from cabinet and parliament, to synthesize these pieces of legislation. And not just with the finance bill. There's also the budget policy statement. Most people actually don't know that the budget policy statement comes out earlier than the finance bill. I was going through the website of the Ministry of Finance, Treasury, and on their website, on their press releases, where you'd expect to find such a document, it is not there. I went through the dispatches from cabinet. Usually, by the way, when cabinet is meeting, Hussein Mohammed is very quick to give us dispatches from cabinet, where there are attachments, he will attach very quickly. But on the finance bill, nothing. Even on the budget policy statement, it's like the executive and parliament are not quick to let Kenyans know what is happening. They'd rather negotiate internally, what accrues to them, what will go to this place, before now coming to the people. But we can discuss a few things, even as we head towards conclusion. One of the things that appears both in the budget policy statement and the finance bill is the recurrent expenditure. We now have a recurrent expenditure going upwards of 1.3 trillion. Our interest on debt is 1.2 trillion and above. The amount for development, and I don't know if you remember William Ruto giving a threat when now he was saying he's withdrawing the finance bill. He said, if you guys don't want development, then it is up to you. At State House, there was something that was mentioned. It was almost as though you were saying, mmekataa hii finance bill, ngoja mtakiona. And you look at the amount that is going to development, it's 300 billion shillings, 1.3 trillion going to recurrent expenditure. Is that a sustainable way to live as a country?
No, it's not. It's not, and it can be. And especially because we know where, quite a large amount of the funds we're talking about goes to. This is money that is actually wasted. This is money that is actually stolen from the public coffers. This is money that ends up in people's pockets. But you see, I don't want us to forget something. We said that politics is an expensive affair. Some of the money that is used out there by politicians to do politics is actually in the budgets. It's actually budgeted. And it is because even the people themselves have made it very, very hard for the politicians or for the leaders to speak to them without the money. So even what at times we refer to as development, really, is actually money that will go into Harambes, is actually money that will go into things that can be done without necessarily touching or dipping our hands into the public coffers and giving that money. Whether we are giving it to churches or wherever we are taking this money, it's totally unnecessary. It's actually a form of bribing the people. To me, it's a form of bribing the people. So it's not sustainable. It is not right, and we should correct it.
Alenga.
I think we must be awake to the mischief that could be in this finance bill. One is to demand to have access to the same, and also the attendant budget policy statement, because we do not want to be shocked with some things. Because some of the few snippets I have looked at online, they indicate that there's a tax change in terms of on production from zero-rated goods to tax exempt, and we know what that means to the common man. So ideally, they paint it as a very nice document, but it is still, at the end of the day, it's going to leave the burden to this common mwananchi who has been suffering all the way. So the rhetoric around the finance bill has to be investigated. And I think it is our duty to call for such, so that there is complete disclosure going forward. And I think more importantly is to understand the value that the government is placing on key issues like health and education. Because if we have a country that is perpetually building churches, giving millions to build churches to improve the aesthetics of a church, while the roof of a class next door is collapsing, then we really need to revise how we are thinking. Yeah, because I don't even think heaven is meant for fools. That even if our children don't go to school, they can go to the next church and go to heaven.
Well, we have a culture of turning churches into classrooms. Maybe that is the end goal.
Maybe you should have said that we have a culture of turning churches into political pulpits. Yeah.
Exactly.
So the politicians want a better place to speak
to do
from
their
next.
politics. Yeah. It's very unfortunate.
It's like them saying, I don't like this place the way it looks. When I come next,
I need to have
I have some money to make it
Better
better.
platform.
But there are a few things, even from that budget policy statement, and it was very interesting seeing John Mbadi, the CS, saying that he was tapped as a new broom, and now Kenyans should expect that in this budget 2025-2026 it will be responsive, effective, efficient, and all those things. But one of the things that the CS mentioned, and this is also now tied to the finance bill, they mentioned that inflation is now at 3% from 9%. Of course, the dollar rate is mentioned ranging from 128 to 130. They have mentioned that the country has now about 10.1 billion US dollar reserves that should cover 5 months or so import cover. They also mentioned that the interest rates have gone down to about 11% bank lending, and that tax revenues have gone up. This would appear as flowery things, but qua ground, Kenyans would not. If for example you say inflation has gone down by 3%, and still people are unable to access food at prices they accessed before, then it really does not matter that these things have been done. One of the things that I was very keen about, and we can give a few comments even as we move towards the last segment. And Alenga, in the last segment we give our controversial opinions. So if you have a controversial opinion, hii sasa ndio nafasi ya kuitoa. But they mentioned that 60 billion shillings, upwards of 60 billion shillings have been disbursed through the Hustler Fund. And that appears to be, one of, according to President William Ruto and his government, one of the things that has worked, well for them. How should we judge this Hustler Fund issue?
First of all, what is Hustler Fund?
I think Hustler Fund.
Apana. But initially, because I was on the other side of the political divide during their last campaign, and when of course I went through the manifesto of the UDA, or the Kenya Kwanza coalition, and this money was not supposed to be a loan. If I remember, it was supposed to be like a grant, for people to go and boost their small businesses and all that, and that would have actually benefited the MSMEs in a very big way. So, I mean, I am yet to see someone, especially from where I come from, both, even my family and people around me and out there, I'm yet to see someone who can give me an encouraging or a positive story. The last time I checked is when the people who had borrowed money were being told that they would be arrested or something like that because there was non-payment. In fact, I've also met a lot of young people who say that I borrowed 800, I borrowed 1,000, and I did not return, or I didn't repay. And that seems to be what most of the people, I think it was easy to access the money. So the money could be out there, it was dispersed, but then who is going to tell us whether this money has been repaid? Because I don't think that money was repaid for sure. Although I watched the news one day, and I saw some success stories with some mamamboga and all that. So this and the tuk-tuk. So it could be benefiting some people, while the other, where some are not repaying. Maybe there are some who are repaying, because we have had both stories. But then the beautiful things and the flowery, you've called them flowery things that you've mentioned about the finance bill, or even our projections moving forward. Unless the person at the grassroots, unless the people at the bottom of the pyramid feel it, then really you can talk about all these figures, you can give us very beautiful stories, but we need to feel it. We need to see it on the ground. We need to feel it when it comes to the health sector. We need to see it when it comes to the education sector. We need to see it. We need to feel it, or at least there need to be some semblance of a success story, so to speak. But then you can't just throw figures here and there and you expect us to be very happy and clap for you. But then let me tell you something, politically speaking. I also listened to the people of Nyanza one day, I think it's 2 weeks ago if I'm not wrong, and they said, Sahi, pesa inalala Nyanza. Did you hear that?
Yeah,
you heard that? Yeah. So that tells you how unserious we are with very serious issues. Which money sleeps in Nyanza?
Si pengine nalala Nyanza alafu inaenda kazi kwingine. Sasa
I don't think that is even a proper statement for whoever used that statement was very, very wrong. But it is a statement to excite the masses, as we have always done, whipping the emotions and making people believe that since the community has this position, then you are at a better position to benefit. Benefit how? By the people suffer the same. If the people of Western are suffering, the people of Nyanza are suffering equally. The people of Central are suffering equally. Yeah. So some of this rhetoric are very unfortunate.
Alenga, as we come back to Cathy for a controversial opinion, Hustler Fund, and now that you'll be talking about Hustler Fund, there's the mongrel that is called NGCDF, and we've seen MPs are saying this thing has worked, it should not be done away with. Governors are saying, wacha hiyo pesa ikuje kwa devolution.
I think the Hustler Fund was one of the most sophisticated programs if you consider stealing public funds. Because remember, if you borrowed the Hustler Fund, there's a percentage that they were deducting, and they say they are keeping it for you.
Investment.
Yet they do not tell you to which office you will go and claim.
And they said you can't withdraw that amount of money.
And at what age you should go and reclaim. So somebody basically took government money as a fund, and then they put it into this pata potea. Then they would get their own. They would get their, from that percentage they were deducting. Alafu wagawane huko, and the whole issue. If it crumbles, it's fine. If it's about empowerment of the people, it was the most rudimentary programs ever in the history of mankind, because it had no pillars for even tracking progress, monitoring and evaluation. Even the new CS that was appointed, and it falls rightly under their mandate, stopped talking about it. He started by talking about it quite so often, then he just kept quiet. He realized what we realized before he did. And
one would say the head of monitoring and evaluation for that Hustler Fund is David Ndii, because he has been very vocal about the successes of that fund. But because we have a few minutes to close, Cathy, in just a minute, your controversial opinion, and then Alenga, your controversial opinion as well.
The new coalition putting together Matiang'i, Martha Karua, Rigathi Gachagua, Kalonzo Musyoka, Muturi and company is as good as dead. Those people cannot work together. There's no chemistry. They are just diluting each other's brand. The people of Kenya believed, and especially the young people, the Gen Zs, believed that Matiang'i was the savior. Matiang'i was coming to save this nation, or, as the young people told us that time. Now he has gotten into some murky environment, and he'll be as dirty as everybody else in that coalition. The other thing is that when you look at someone like Kalonzo Musyoka, if I were Kalonzo Musyoka, I would be the first person to leave that coalition. Those guys are taking you for a ride. You better leave now.
Thank you. Alenga.
My controversial opinion is that we were building a country, we hammered a nail into the wood, and we realized we just used the wrong nail, and we have to get it out. That nail can only be removed using a hammer. President Ruto does not require a staunch Christian to remove him from office. He does not require a baby who was born yesterday infallible and has not committed sin. He does not require someone who has dropped from another planet. But we will just pick from what we have here and confront him with that. For me, the hammer that I am seeing and I am ready to use is Matiang'i. That's the person I believe can
It doesn't
rest
matter
of them out.
if the hammer is broken or not.
Yes.
Anyway, that's all we had for you people today. Thank you for viewing. Thank you for watching. We'll be back next Sunday. Dismas will be back next Sunday. We appreciate your support and viewership. Please follow FiresideKE on Twitter and on TikTok. Very active on TikTok. Asanteni sana. Have a lovely night.